Hello guys! So, welcome to our Intermediate Accounting 3 tutorial. Ngayon, ituturo namin sa inyo ang Lessee Accounting, Other Accounting Issues. So, we all know na upon list commencement date, magre-recognize si Lessee ng right of use asset at ng list liability. So, that is according to IFRS 16, paragraph 22. Pero, subsequently, maaaring magre-measure tayo para i-reflect yung mga changes in terms of the following as per the IFRS 16 paragraph 36. So it can be on the list term, the assessment of a purchase option, the amounts expected to be payable, and then the future list payments resulting from a change in an index or rate used to determine those payments. So these remeasurements are treated as adjustments to the right of use asset, so according to IFRS 16. So for the first three modifications, which are the extension option, variable payments, and the list modification as a separate list, i-discuss to ni Vanessa. So, here she goes.
So, in this video, i-discuss namin sa inyo ang mga accounting issues that may arise from leases. So, for example, may isang lessee na nahihirapan ng magbayad ng list. So, it's possible na magre-request siya sa lessor na babaan yung payment. Maaari rin namang meron naka-indicate na sa list contract if may option si lessee to extend the list. And also, may instances din na meron ng negotiation between the lessee and lessor to terminate the list before or earlier the expiration date. So, whatever the reason for the change, it may be accounted as a list modification. Moreover, this video will be tackling the new list standard, which is the IFRS 16 entitled Leases. So, nakasaad sa standard nito yung new accounting issue sa part ng lessee, which is yung list modification. So, it is defined by IFRS 16 as change in the scope of a list or the consideration given that was not part of terms and conditions. There are also two ways para i-account yung list modification. So, yung first is, it is treated as a separate list, and yung second naman is yung it is not treated as a separate list. So, in a nutshell, bali magpo-focus tayo sa other issue other than finance and operating ni Lessee. So, yung other accounting issues ni Lessee na maaaring pumasok sa tatlong ito ay first is yung extension option. Second, variable payments. And yung third is yung list modification. Aside from the modifications, also we need to know the other terminologies na importante para lubusan pa nating maintindihan yung list modification. So, first term is the effective date of a modification. So, ito yung date na nagkaroon ng agreement si lessee and lessor sa modification. So, for instance, changes that are not accounted as a separate list ay kinakailangan i-measure ang list liability and right of use asset at this date. Second term naman is yung discount rate. Ito yung rate na gagamitin to know the interest should be paid by the lessee. And take note, yung new discount rate yung gagamitin natin pag mayroong list modification. So, para malaman natin yung changes sa right of use asset and list liability. Now that we've finished discussing necessary takeaways about list modification, simulan na natin illustrate ang each cases ng modification. So, pero bago ang lahat pala na ngayon guys, may 5 steps tayong kailangan tandaan para i-account yung list modification. So, for the first step, compute the list liability. Second is prepare amortization table. Third is compute for the cost of ROA. And then fourth, prepare journal entries. And then the last step would be the remeasurement. So yung first modification na i-discuss natin is yung extension option. So gaya nga nung sinabi ko kanina, lessee has an option to extend the list. So, to further illustrate this modification, let's have an example.
On January 1, 2019, Styles Company entered into the list of building with the following information. Annual rental payable at the end of each year, 600,000. List term, for 5 years, useful life of building 20 years, implicit interest rate 9%, incremental borrowing rate 8%.
So, ayun nga guys. Step 1, compute the lease liability. So, para makuha natin yung lease liability, kunin muna natin yung present value factor ng ordinary annuity of 1 at 9% for 5 periods. So guys, yung basis to compute the present value is yung implicit interest rate rather than the incremental borrowing rate. So, sa given data, mayroong naka-indicate na incremental borrowing rate. So, pag mayroong given na implicit interest rate na, ay naagad yung i-consider natin na interest rate para i-compute yung present value. So, magiging basis lang yung incremental borrowing rate pag hindi readily determinable yung implicit interest rate. So guys, if nakalimutan nyo na or hindi nyo pa alam i-compute yung present value, I'm going to show you how to compute.
So guys, make sure lang na clear na yung calc nyo bago mag-input. If okay na, unang i-input is yung 1.09 and then click the divide for 2 times, and after that, click the equal sign kung ilang period or list term, which sa example natin ay 5 years. Then, minus 1 and divide sa interest rate na 9%.
So, ayun na nga guys, na-compute na natin yung present value factor ng ordinary annuity. So, para ma-compute natin yung present value ng lease liability, i-multiply lang natin siya dun sa nakuha nating PV factor. So, sa given data is 600,000 yung annual rental. So, 600,000 times sa PV factor na 3.890, ang lalabas na present value ng lease liability would be 2,334,000. After nun, guys, tapos na tayo sa present value ng lease liability. Yung second step naman, yung prepare amortization table.
Para sa Step 2, Amortization Table, magsimula lamang sa nakuhang present value ng lease liability na 2,334,000. I-multiply lang to sa interest rate na 9% para makuha ang interest expense na 210,060. I-minus lang to sa annual payment na 600,000 para makuha ang principal amount ng lease liab na 389,040. Again, i-minus lang ulit to sa previous balance ng lease liability na 2,334,000 para makuha ang current carrying amount ng lease liability na 1,944,060. Ulitin lang ang proseso para mabuo ang amortization table.
So guys, after natin magawa ang amortization, compute na natin yung cost ng ROA, which is the step 3. So, since na walang given na attributable cost sa underlying asset, yung cost ng ROA is yung PB rin ng lease liability as well. So, dumako na tayo sa step 4, which is yung pag-prepare ng journal entries. So, sa initial recognition ng lease liability, yung entry natin for January 1, 2019 is debit ROA or right of use asset na 2,334,000 and credit lease liability 2,334,000. And for the year end 2019 naman, mag-recognize tayo ng depreciation expense. So, yung depreciation expense, guys, is based sa cost ng ROA over sa lease term, which is sa problem natin given is 5 years. So, ayan. So, another entry is for the year end 2019 is yung payment ng interest expense and sa lease liability. So, debit interest expense na 210,060, which nandun din siya sa amortization table natin na ginawa kanina. So, tumingin lang kayo dun para alam natin yung entry natin. So, debit ulit na 389,940 na lease liability and credit yung payment na 600,000. So, for the second year naman, 2020, mag-recognize ulit tayo ng interest expense depreciation, and payment sa list liab. So, ganun lang ulit guys. Ulit-ulit lang yung process. Debit interest expense sa 2020 na 174,965. Debit list liability na 425,035. And credit ulit na annual payment na cash 600,000. So, para sa following years ay ganun pa rin yung entries. So, recognition ng interest expense, depreciation, and payment ng list liability. So, ayun lang. So, now let's go to the step 5, which is yung remeasurement. So, for the date January 1, 2022, we're going to remeasure the list liability gamit yung implicit rate na 12%. So, ang unang kailangan para sa remeasurement ay ang PV ng old remaining liability. So, to get that, we multiply the annual rental ng original list with the present value of ordinary annuity of 1 at 12% for 2 periods. So, yung annual rentals for the original list is yung 600,000. And may given na kami na present value which is 1.69. So, we multiply yung dalawa. Makukuha natin is yung PV of old liability for January 1, 2022 na 1,014,000. After naman natin makompute yung PV ng old remaining liability natin, i-compute naman natin yung for the extended list natin. So, yung new annual rental natin is 800,000. I-times ulit natin sa PV of ordinary annuity for 5 periods, which is yung PV factor is 3.605. So, pag minultiply natin yan, makukuha natin yung present value as of January 1, 2024 na 2,884,000. So, i-times ulit natin yung present value ng January 1, 2024 sa PV of 12% for 2 periods na lang kasi kailangan i-discount for 2 periods kung kailan nag-decide yung lessee na ma-extend yung list. So, pag minultiply natin yung 2,884,000 sa PV of 1 na 0.797, makukuha natin PV of extended list term na 2,298,548. So, after natin makuha yung PV ng old remaining liability at ng extended list term, i-add natin silang dalawa para makuha natin total PV. So, 1,014,000 plus 2,298,548 is equal to 3,312,548. So, ayun yung total PV natin for January 1, 2022. So, after nun, kailangan natin i-deduct yung carrying amount ng old liability noong December 31, 2022. So, para malaman natin yun is tumingin lang tayo sa original amortization table natin. So, yung carrying amount na yun, yung value is 1,055,737. So, pag dineduct natin siya sa total PV ng January 1, 2022, makukuha natin is 2,256,811. So, mayroong increase sa liability as of January 1, 2022. So, after naman nun, after makuha natin yung changes sa liability natin, kunin naman natin yung bagong carrying amount ng right of use asset natin. So, yung original cost ng right of use asset natin is equal sa list liab natin kanina is 2,334,000. So, yung original cost ng right of use asset natin is 2,334,000. So, yung mga na-recognize nating depreciation expense for the 3 years is kailangan natin i-deduct. So, yung 2,334 divide 5 is equal to 466,800. So, per 1 year lang yan. So, ita-times natin siya sa 3 para makuha natin yung for 3 years. So, magiging sagot is 1,400,400. So, pag minus natin siya sa 2,334,000 na original cost ng ROA, makukuha natin yung remaining carrying amount ng ROA as of January 1, 2022, which is yung 933,600. After nun, i-add natin yung interest in liability kasi alam naman natin na kasama sa cost ng ROA yung list liability. So, i-add natin siya para makuha natin yung new carrying amount ng ROA natin. So, 933,600 plus 2,256,811, ayun na yung new carrying amount as of January 1, 2022. So, it is equal to 3,190,411. So, after computing the new present value ng list liability and yung new carrying amount ng right of use asset, gumawa ulit tayo ng bagong amortization table for modified list natin.
Para sa revised amortization table naman, gamitin lang ulit ang nakuhang new present value ng list liability na 3,312,548. I-times lang ito sa new interest rate na 12% para makuha ang interest expense na 397,506. I-minus lang ulit ito sa annual payment na 600,000 para makuha ang principal amount ng list liability na 202,494. Again, i-minus lang ulit ito sa previous amount ng list liability na 3,312,548 para makuha ang current present value ng ating list liability na 3,110,054. Ulitin lang ulit ang process para mabuo ang ating revised amortization table.
So, ayun guys, now that we're done sa amortization, mag-prepare naman tayo ulit ng journal entries for the extended list term natin. So, for the beginning 2022, mag-record tayo ng debit sa ROA, 2,256,811 and credit list liability na 2,256,811, which is, ito yung increase in liability natin. So, as the standards provided, yung remeasurement ng list liability ay adjustment sa carrying amount ng right of use asset natin. So, for the year-end 2022 naman, magre-recognize ulit tayo ng interest expense. Debit interest expense tayo ulit, 397,506. And debit ulit na list liability, 202,494. And credit cash, 600,000. So, based ulit to sa amortization table natin, which is yung revised na. And, ayun, ulit, depreciation expense ulit, kailangan natin mag-record. So, ayun. So, debit depreciation expense, 455,773. And credit accumulated depreciation na 455,773. So, yung depreciation natin ngayon is based na sa new carrying amount ng right of use asset natin over the remaining list term. So, for the subsequent year, 2023 naman, magre-recognize ulit tayo ng interest expense, depreciation, and payment. So, debit interest expense ulit na 373,206 and debit ulit na list liability na 226,794 and credit cash na 600,000. And for the depreciation naman, ayun ulit, depreciation expense ulit na 455,773 and credit accumulated depreciation na 455,773. So, para naman sa extended list term natin, year ended 2024, debit ulit na interest expense 345,991, debit list liability na 445,009 and credit na cash na 800,000. So, ayun nga guys, diba, sa extended list term, nagbago na yung payment, kaya 800,000 na. So, para hindi kayo malito, tumingin na lang kayo sa revised amortization table natin para hindi mali-mali yung entry nyo. So, ayun. Para naman sa depreciation ulit, gano'n lang ulit. Debit depreciation expense na 455,773 and credit accumulated depreciation na 455,773. So, yung entries para sa mga susunod na years ay same lang din naman yung process. So, tingin lang kayo sa amortization table para hindi mamali yung entries nyo. So, ayan. That's how to account for extension option. So, now, we'll be proceeding sa second modification natin, which is yung variable payment. So, yung variable payment is yung payment ng lessee para sa right to use ng underlying asset natin during the list term varies dahil mayroong pagbabago sa facts or may mga circumstances na nangyari after ng commencement date. So, yung maaaring dahilan is may pagbabago sa index or rate kung saan nakabase ang list payments, lessee's performance derived from the underlying asset, and yung last naman is yung paggamit ng underlying assets. So, IFRS 16 also gave an example which will be showing below. To fully understand this modification, magbibigay kami ng example.
On January 1, 2019, Tomlinson Company entered into a 5-year lease of a floor of a building with the following terms. Annual rental for the first 2 years payable at the end of each year, 200,000. Annual rental for the next 3 years payable at the end of each year, 300,000. Initial direct cost paid by lessee, 100,000. Present value of restoration costs required by contract, 50,000. Useful life of building, 20 years. Implicit interest rate, 8%.
So guys, for the step 1 ulit, kailangan natin i-compute yung present value ng lease liability as of January 2019. So, para ma-compute natin yung PV ng lease liability natin, i-multiply lang natin yung annual rental for 2 years na 200,000 sa PV factor ng OA at 8% for 2 periods na 1.783 na equal sa 356,600. So, ayun yung unang present value natin as of January 1, 2019. And for the rental naman for 3 years na 300,000, multiply ulit natin sa PV of ordinary annuity at 8% for 3 periods na 2.577. So, it is equal to 773,100. So, kailangan natin siyang i-rediscount for 3 periods kung kailan nagsimula yung list. So, ito times natin siya sa PV of 1 at 8% for 2 periods times sa PV factor nun is yung 0.857. So, sa 773,100 times 0.857, ayun na yung total PV natin as of January 1, 2019 na 662,547. Para makuha pala natin yung carrying amount ng liability as of January 1, 2019, kailangan natin i-add yung present value ng old pati ng new. So, para sa present value ng old, 356,600 plus present value ng new, 662,547. So, it is equal to 1,019,147. Ayun na yung magiging carrying amount ng liability natin as of January 1, 2019. So, after that, gawin na natin yung step 2 which is yung amortization table.
Para sa step 2, amortization table, gamitin lang ang nakuhang present value ng lease liability na 1,019,147. I-multiply ito sa ating interest rate na 8% para makuha ang interest expense na 81,532. Again, minus lang din ito ulit sa ating annual payment na 200,000 para makuha ang principal amount ng lease liability na 118,468. Minus lang to sa previous balance ng lease liability na 1,019,147 para makuha ang current amount ng ating lease liability na 900,679. I-multiply lang ulit ito sa ating interest rate at i-minus sa annual payment para makuha ang principal amount, and then i-minus ulit sa previous value ng ating lease liability para makuha ang current amount. And then, ang 772,733 ay ang ating carrying amount ng lease liability as of December 31, 2020. Multiply lang ulit ang interest rate na 8% dito para makuha ang ating interest expense na 61,819, and then i-minus to sa new payment na 300,000 para makuha ang principal amount na 238,181. Then i-minus lang ulit to sa ating present value na 772,733 para makuha ang ating current present value as of December 31, 2021 na 534,552. Ulitin lang ulit ang process para mabuo natin ang ating amortization table.
So, after natin ma-establish yung amortization table, step 3 naman, computein na natin yung cost ng ROA. So, in order to compute that, kailangan natin i-recognize yung mga initial cost na attributable sa asset. So, kagaya sa given natin, meron tayong initial direct cost and yung restoration cost. So, i-add natin siya sa carrying amount ng liability natin, 1,019,147 plus yung initial direct cost na 100,000 plus yung restoration cost. So, ito, at present value siya. So, 50,000. So, yung total nun is yung cost ng ROA natin, which is 1,169,147. So, as we compute the cost ng ROA, we'll now recognize a depreciation expense based sa list term natin dahil wala namang naka-indicate na transfer of title and purchase option. So, thereafter, step 4, we now can prepare the journal entries for 2019. So, initial measurement natin ng ROA, debit, right of use asset, 1,169,147, and credit, less liability na 1,019,147, and credit cash na 100,000, which is yung initial direct cost natin. And then, credit ulit na restoration cost na 50,000. So, for the year-end naman, 2019, mag-recognize tayo ng depreciation expense na incur natin. So, debit, depreciation expense na 233,829, and credit, accumulated depreciation na 233,829. So, based sa cost ng ROA natin na 1,169,147 over the list term 5 years. And then, additional entry for the year-end, yung payment ng interest and less liable ulit. Debit interest expense na 81,352, debit less liability na 118,468, and credit cash na 200,000. So, para sa 2021, ganun lang ulit. Mag-recognize ulit tayo ng depreciation. So, debit depreciation expense na 233,829. Credit na accumulated depreciation na 233,829. And para naman sa payment ng interest expense and lease liability natin, debit interest expense na 61,819, debit less liability 238,181, and then credit cash na 300,000. So, tingin lang ulit tayo sa amortization table para hindi tayo malito sa entries natin. So guys, we're now done for the first two modifications natin. So, dumako naman tayo sa list modification accounted as separate list. So, IFRS 16 defines separate list as increasing the scope of the list by adding the right to use one or more underlying assets. So, IFRS 16 paragraph 44 provides that the lessee shall account under the following conditions. So, first condition is yung the modification increases the scope of the list by adding the right to use on additional underlying asset. And so, second condition naman, the rental for the list modification increases by an amount commensurate with the increase in scope and equivalent to the current market rental. So, to further launch on to this modification, we will be giving an example.
On January 1, 2019, Horan Company entered into a lease agreement with the following information. Floor space, 1,500 square meters. Annual rental payable at the end of year, 200,000. Implicit interest rate, 12%. This term for 12 years.
So guys, for the initial recognition and step 1, kukomputin natin yung lease liability. Just multiply the annual rental with the present value of ordinary annuity at 12% for 12 periods. So, yung annual rental natin sa problem is 200,000 times the PV factor natin na 6.1944. So, is equal to 1,238,880. So, ayun na yung present value ng lease liability natin. So, step 2 naman, amortization table. Pero, para mas mabilis yung process at less time consuming naman, just directly multiply the lease liability to the discount rate natin na 12%. So, ito na yung magiging interest expense natin. Then, i-minus lang natin yung lease payment. Ayun na yung reduction sa lease liability. So, para sa step 3 naman, cost of ROA. So, katulad ng problem kanina, there are no any directly attributable cost sa right of use underlying asset natin. Right of use asset natin. Kaya, ang cost ng ROA natin is same lang sa present value ng list liability natin. So moving forward sa step 4, gumawa na tayo ng journal entries. So, para sa 2019, para sa January 1, debit right of use asset na 1,238,880 and credit list liability na 1,238,880. So, yung present value ng list liab and cost ng ROA natin. So, for the year end 2019 naman, mag-recognize ulit tayo ng payment ng interest and list liability. So, para makuha natin yun, dahil wala nga tayong amortization table, para sa interest expense na i-debit natin, 1,238,880 times 12% na discount rate natin. So, equal yan sa 148,666. And debit ulit tayo na list liab na 51,334. So, kaya nakuha yung 51,334, minus natin yung interest expense na 148,666 sa annual rental payment natin na 200,000. So, ika-credit natin yung annual rental payment natin na 200,000 as cash. Additional entry naman for the year end, yung depreciation. Debit depreciation expense na 103,240 and credit accumulated depreciation na 103,240. So, paano natin nakuha yan? So, based yun sa cost ng ROA natin or ng right of use asset natin na 1,238,880 over the lease term natin na 12 years. So, for the last step, ito na yung remeasurement natin. So, substantially, on January 1, 2022, kailangan i-account ng foreign company yung modification as a separate list. So, need i-recognize yung right of use asset and list liability para sa additional list space. So, guys, take note na walang adjustment sa original floor space natin dahil sa modification. So, bali yung affected lang dito is yung list payment natin dahil sa pag-increase ng space. So, again, to compute for the present value ng new or yung additional list payment natin, i-multiply lang natin yung new payment na 300,000 sa present value factor ng 5.759. So, equal yan sa 1,727,700. So, ayun na yung present value ng new list liab natin. So, step 4 na tayo, guys. Journal entries for the modification. So, for 2022, guys, yung entry natin sa January 1, debit ulit tayo ng ROA or yung right of use asset natin, 1,727,700 and credit list liability na 1,727,700. So, ayun yung present value ng list liab natin and yung cost ng ROA. And then, for the year end naman, mag-recognize ulit tayo ng payment ng interest expense and ng list liab. So, debit interest expense na 172,770. So, dahil wala nga tayong amortization table na ginawa, para hindi time-consuming, ayun, this is based sa 1,727,700 times sa discount rate natin na 10%. So, kaya naging 172,770. And then, debit ulit tayo ng list liability natin na 127,230. So, nakuha yung list liability natin sa pagdeduct natin sa annual payment natin na 300,000 less sa interest expense natin na 172,770. So, credit tayo ng cash or yung annual payment natin na 300,000. Additional entry is yung depreciation ulit. So, debit depreciation expense 191,967 and credit na accumulated depreciation na 191,967. So, based to sa cost ng ROA natin na 1,727,700 over the 9 years. So, simula January 1, 2022, which is the effective date of modification natin, yung 9 years. So, 12 years yung original list term minus ton sa 3 years na na-expire. So, 9 years na lang yung remaining list term. So guys, we're done for a separate list modification. So we'll be now moving forward to other list modifications that are not treated as separate lists. So which are the extension of term, decrease in the scope, and change in rental, which will now be discussed by my partner, Christelle.
So, hello again guys. The list modifications that are not treated as a separate list are again, katulad ng binanggit kanina ni Vanessa, ay yung extension of term, change in rental, and decrease in scope. So first, kaya siya hindi treated as a separate list kasi hindi naman nag-increase yung scope ng underlying asset, kaya no need to account for a new list. So, itatama lang siya sa carrying amount ng right-of-use asset, and this is according to IFR 16. So, first, extension of term. So, this is defined as increasing the scope of the list by extending the contractual list term. So, ang modification daw na ito ay, sa madaling salita, pagpapalawak or pagpapahaba ng list term or ng term ng lease contract. So, para mas maintindihan nyo, ito yung example.
On January 1, 2020, Paint Company enters into a commercial building lease contract with the following information. Annual lease payment payable at the end of each year, 200,000. Lease term for 5 years, implicit interest rate 9%.
So, katulad kanina, huwag niyong kakalimutan yung ating 5 steps. So, step 1, compute for the lease liability. Step 2, amortization table. Step 3, yung cost of ROA or right-of-use asset. And step 4, journal entries. Step 5, and the remeasurement. So, step 1 muna tayo. Yung sa example natin, computing natin yung lease liability. Lagi lang i-multiply yung annual payment sa present value factor. So, in this case, yung present value factor natin is yung 3.89. So, yung 3.89 na yun, i-multiply lang natin sa annual payment na 200,000. And that is equals to 778,000. Nakuha yung 3.89, like na-discuss na kanina, uulitin ko lang ulit para hindi tayo magulo. So, yung implicit rate na 9%, so ita-type lang natin sa calcu. So, 1.09 and then divide. So, yung equal kung ilan yung term niya. So, in this case, it is 5 years. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Minus 1 and then divide sa implicit rate na 9%. And ayan na yung, kaya nakuha natin yung present value natin na 3.89. So, dahil meron na tayong lease liability, magpunta na tayo sa step 2, which is the amortization table. Para sa ating step 2, amortization table, magsimula lang ulit tayo sa present value ng lease liability. I-multiply to sa interest rate na 9% para makuha natin ang interest expense na 70,020. And then, i-minus to sa annual payment na 200,000 para makuha natin ang principal amount na 129,980. I-minus lang ulit ito sa ating previous balance ng lease liability para makuha natin ang ating current lease liability na 648,020. Ulitin lang ulit ang process hanggang sa mabuong ang ating amortization table. Dahil tapos na natin nga yung step 2, amortization table, pumunta na tayo ngayon sa step 3, yung cost of a right-of-use asset. So, sa right-of-use asset, kapag may mga cost na directly attributable sa right-of-use asset, i-add lang natin siya, isasama natin siya sa cost ng right-of-use asset. Pero dahil sa example natin, wala namang binigay na any other cost na attributable sa asset, wala tayong i-add. Ibig sabihin, present value lang ng lease liability, yun din yung cost natin ng right-of-use asset. So, dahil na-establish na natin yan, punta na tayo sa step 4, yung journal entry. So, for initial recognition ng right-of-use asset natin and lease liability, for January 1, 2020, of course, i-debit natin yung right-of-use asset, and then credit yung lease liability na 778,000. And then, for the end year, December 31, 2020, i-recognize lang natin yung payment na nangyari and then yung expense na na-incur. So, for the interest expense, debit interest expense, 70,020. And then, the lease liability na 129,980 and then credit the payment na 200,000. So, galing lang to sa amortization table, guys. Lagi lang kayo titingin sa amortization table kapag magre-recognize na kayo ng interest expense and payment. So, the next one is, for the end year, magre-recognize din tayo ng depreciation. So, para makuha yung depreciation, mag-base tayo sa cost ng right-of-use asset and then minus residual value divide by estimated useful life. In this case, wala namang binigay na residual value, kaya yung cost ng right-of-use asset na 778,000, i-divide lang siya sa lease term na 5 years. So, nakuha natin is 155,600. So, debit lang natin yung depreciation expense and credit yung accumulated depreciation ng 155,600. So, for the next year, year 2021, ang ire-record lang natin ay ganun pa rin, interest expense na na-incur and then yung payment. So, for year 2021, December 31, interest expense, debit, 58,322, and then debit pa din yung lease liability na 141,678. Then, of course, credit cash for 200,000. So, this makikita sa amortization table na ginawa natin kanina. So, better talaga na gumawa ng amortization table para mas madaling mag-journal entries. So, of course, huwag kakalimutan yung depreciation expense na 155,600. Debit yon and then credit yung accumulated depreciation. So, yon nagawa na natin yung step 1, 2, 3, and 4 sa year 2020 and 2021. Pero, may nangyari daw noong January 2022. So,
On January 1, 2022, paying company and the lessor agreed to amend the original lease by extending the lease term by 3 more years with the following information. Annual lease payment payable at the end of each year, 200,000, implicit interest rate, 11%.
So, yun nga guys, dahil nagkaroon ng modification sa lease term, or nagkaroon ng extension of the term, magkakaroon tayo ngayon ng remeasurement. Yun ang step 5. So, for the step 5, ang una natin gagawin, of course, kukunin yung present value ng bagong term or the amended lease term. So, wala pa rin naman nagbago sa annual payment, 200,000 pa din siya. Pero, may nagbago sa interest, yung 11%. So, this time, ang gagawin natin, kukunin natin yung present value factor ng 11%, which is 1.11%, and then divide natin equal kung ilang lease term. Dito kasi, nagawa na natin yung 2 years sa old contract niya na 5 years. So, may natitira pa tayong 3 years sa old contract. And, nag-extend siya for another 3 years. So, madadagdagan yun ng 3 years. Naging 6 years na. So, may 6 years pa siyang term. So, yun yung pipindutin nating equal. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ayan. And then, minus 1 divide the implicit interest rate na 11%. May makukuha tayong 4.2305. So, 4.231, 3 decimals na lang. I-multiply natin yung 4.231 sa annual payment na 200,000. Magkakaroon tayo ng present value of the amended contract lease term na 846,200. So, ito, ima-minus natin siya sa carrying amount ng old lease term or ng old lease liab. So, makikita yung carrying amount ng old lease liab doon sa ginawa nating amortization table. So, yung carrying amount niya nung January 1, 2022 na nangyari yung modification is 506,342. So, yung carrying amount niya nung nangyari yung lease modification, which is the January 1, 2022, yung carrying amount ng lease liability is 506,342. So, yung 846,200 minus 506,342, 339,858. Ito yung increase sa lease liability. So, ang gagawin natin dito, i-record natin siya mamaya sa journal entry. But for now, dahil nakuha na natin yung new present value ng list liability, which is the 846,200, yun yung gagamitin natin sa amortization table. So, katulad ng dati, 846,200 times implicit interest rate na 11%, yun yung interest expense, minus the annual payment na 200,000, yun yung list liability or the principal amount, and then minus ulit sa previous amount ng carrying amount ng list liability, and then yung total nun times ulit sa interest expense, interest rate, and then ganun ulit. So, itutuloy na natin siya hanggang the end year, which is December 31, 2024. So, after ng amortization table, mag-journal entries na ulit tayo for January 1, 2022 kung kailan nangyari yung list modification. So, katulad ng first year kanina, i-record din natin yung list liability and right of use asset. Pero ngayon, ang amount na ilalagay natin, yung kinumpute natin kaninang increase in list liability. So, debit right of use asset, 339,858, and then credit list liability, 339,858. So, the end year naman, of course, magre-record tayo ng interest expense na na-incur and then yung payment sa list liab. So, interest expense, debit, 93,082, and then list liability, debit pa rin, 106,918. And then, yes, yung cash payments na 200,000 credit. So, ganun pa rin. In terms naman sa depreciation expense, ang kailangan natin makuha yung bagong cost ng right of use asset. Para magawa yon, kailangan nating computein. So, yung cost of right of use asset nung unang taon pa lang, which is January 1, 2020, commencement date, diba? 778,000. Ima-minus natin to sa accumulated depreciation ng 2 taon na nagdaan, which is the 2020 and the 2021. So, yung 155,600 times 2, yun yung 311,200, yun yung accumulated depreciation natin. So, ima-minus natin siya sa cost of right of use asset na 778,000. Pag na-minus na, yun yung carrying amount ng liability noong January 1, 2022, date ng modification. So, ang gagawin natin, i-add natin yung increase in list liability, which is the 339,858. Yung 806,658 na yan, ayan na yung bago nating carrying amount ng right of use asset. So, after nito, ito yung gagamitin natin sa depreciation expense kasi ito na nga yung adjusted carrying amount. So, i-divide lang natin to sa 6 years kasi nga 6 years na yung bagang list term kasi nag-extend nga siya ng another 3 years. So, divide 6, ang lalabas is 134,443. Ito na yung bagong amount ng depreciation expense for the whole 6 years. So, ganun lang ulit. Debit depreciation expense and credit accumulated depreciation for 134,443. And for the rest of the remaining 6 years, ganun lang din ulit yung gagawin. Every end year, magre-record lang tayo ng payment ng list liability, the interest expense incur, and of course, the depreciation. So, paulit-ulit lang yun until matapos yung list term, until ma-recognize na natin yung buong list liability. So, yon guys, tapos na tayo sa list modification, extension of term. Ngayon naman, mapunta tayo sa another list modification, ang decrease in scope. So, yes, as the name suggests, it is a modification in the form of decreasing the scope of the list by removing the right to use one or more underlying asset or shortening the contractual term. So, sa madaling salita, ang list modification na ito ay maaaring ang pagbabawas ng a right of use asset or pagpapaikli ng contractual term. So, to illustrate, here is the example.
On January 1, 2020, Brand Company enters into an office space lease contract with the following information. Office space, 800 square meters. Annual lease payment payable at the end of each year, 40,000. Lease term for 10 years. Implicit interest rate, 8%.
So guys, ganun pa rin. Step 1, compute for the list liability. So, yung annual payment niya na 40,000, i-compute lang natin sa PV factor niya. kinompute na namin yung present value factor niya. And ganun lang din yung ginawa namin using the manual calcu. So, ang nakuha namin is 6.7101. So, 40,000 times 6.7101, ang makukuha is 268,404. So, ito na ang present value ng lease liability niya. Ito na yung i-record natin sa journal entry. And ito na rin yung gagamitin natin para makagawa tayo ng amortization table, which is the step 2. Para sa ating step 2 amortization table, magsimula sa ating present value ng lease liability na 268,404. I-multiply lang ito sa interest rate na 8% para makuha ang interest expense na 21,472. I-minus lang ito sa ating annual payment na 40,000 para makuha ang ating principal amount na 18,528. And then, i-minus lang ulit ito sa previous balance ng ating lease liability na 268,404 para makuha ang ating current present value ng ating lease liability na 249,876. Ulitin lang ulit ang process para matapos ang ating amortization table. Moving on sa step 3, yung cost of right of use asset. Yung cost of right of use asset, dahil wala namang any other costs that are attributable to our underlying asset, wala tayong i-add. So, as is, yung lease liability amount, ganun din yung cost ng right of use asset. So, yun ay 268,404. Now, step 4 tayo, journal entries. So, for 2020, of course, January 1, lease commencement date, i-record natin yung initial recognition ng right of use asset and lease liability. So, debit lang right of use asset and then credit lease liability na 268,404. And then next, year end, yun yung i-recognize natin yung interest expense na na-incur and then yung payment. Same thing lang, katulad ng kanina. So, interest expense, debit, and then debit then lease liability, 21,472 and 18,528 respectively. And then, of course, credit cash, 40,000. So, of course, magre-record din tayo ng depreciation. So, yung depreciation, magbe-base siya sa cost of right of use asset, which is the 268,404. So, 268,404, dahil wala namang residual value na nabanggit, i-divide natin siya sa lease term, which is 10 years, according sa ating example. So, divide 10, ang makukuha nating depreciation expense is 26,840. So, itong depreciation expense na to, i-record siya, i-debit lang yung depreciation expense and then credit yung accumulated depreciation. So, for the 2021 journal entries, ganun pa rin guys, year-end journal entries ng interest expense and then the payment. So, yun, interest expense, debit, 19,990, lease liability debit, 20,010, and then, of course, credit cash na 40,000. Yung interest expense na to and yung lease lib, galing lang siya sa amortization, guys. Always remember that, para hindi kayo mahirapan mag-record. And, of course, the depreciation, so, debit lang depreciation expense, 26,840, and then, of course, credit accumulated depreciation. So, yun guys, tapos na tayo sa step 1, 2, 3, and 4. Ngayon naman, napag-usapan ng lessee and lessor, may mangyayari daw. So, watch out.
On January 1, 2022, rent company and the lessor agreed to amend the original terms of the lease with the following information. Office space, 480 square meters. Annual lease payment payable at the end of each year, 30,000. Implicit interest rate, 10%.
So, yun nga guys, meron na namang modification. May amendment or nag-agree yung both party na amendahan yung lease contract, which is i-decrease ng lesser yung scope ng underlying asset. Kaya, magkakaroon tayo ng remeasurement. So, before anything else, sabi sa IFRS 16, paragraph 46, any gain or loss relating to the partial or full termination of the lease should be recognized in profit or loss statement. So, yun nga, in this case, kailangan kunin natin ang value kung gaano ang ibinaba ng lease liability and the underlying asset itself. So, for that to happen, kailangan nating malaman ang percentage ng reduction ng scope dahil ito ang gagamitin natin para makompute ang ibinaba ng less liability and right of use asset. So, sabi sa example, yung old contract, 800 square meters yung scope. Pero, naamyendahan siya nung 2022, after 2 years, naging 480 na lang siya. So, i-divide natin yung 480 square meters, divide 800, yan, 0.6 times 100. So, yan, 60% na lang daw yung natitirang scope. So, ibig sabihin, may nawalang 40%. Yung 40% na yon, yun yung gagamitin natin para makuha kung ilan yung ibinaba ng less liability and right of use asset. So, i-multiply lang natin yung carrying amount ng less liability. So, from amortization table, ang carrying amount daw ng less liability is 229,866. So, itong 229,866 na to, i-multiply natin siya sa 40% kung ilan yung binaba ng scope. So, times 40, 91,946. So, itong 91,946 na to, ito yung ibinaba ng less liability. Itong 91,000 na to, ima-minus natin siya doon sa ibinaba naman ng right of use asset. So, of course, depreciation expense, yung 26,840 na to, times 2, kasi 2 taon na yung nakalipas, diba? 2020 and then 2021. So, times 2 siya, yun yung accumulated depreciation. Ima-minus natin siya sa cost ng right of use asset, which is 268,404. So, 268,404 minus 53,608. Ang nakuha natin is 214,724. Ito na yung carrying amount as of January 1, 2022. Itong carrying amount na to, ita-times ulit siya sa 40% para makuha yung kung ilan yung ibinaba ng right of use asset. So, ang binaba daw ng right of use asset is 85,890. Itong 85,000 na to, ima-minus siya sa ibinaba ng less liability na 91,946. So, para makuha natin yung termination gain or termination loss. In this case, dahil mas mataas yung carrying amount ng less liability sa carrying amount ng asset, gain siya. So, after nun, ngayon naman, kukunin natin ang new amount ng less liability na gagamitin natin sa revised amortization table. So, just simply multiply the new annual less payment to the new present value factor. Dahil naamyendahan din yung annual payment and yung implicit rate, yun na yung gagamitin natin. So, yung 30,000 daw na new annual payment, ita-times natin siya sa new present value factor. So, kinumpute na rin namin siya and ang lumabas sa amin is 5.3349. So, 30,000 times 5.3349, ang lalabas is 160,047. So, ito na yung gagamitin natin na present value ng less liability para sa revised amortization table. So, in this one, 160,047 ta-times lang sa new implicit rate na 10%. So, times 10, 16,005. So, itong 16,005, inano na namin siya, guys. Round up na. So, yun yung gagamitin natin as interest expense. And then, ima-minus lang siya sa new annual payment na 30,000. So, 16,005 minus 30,000, 13,995. So, itong 13,995, ito yung principal amount ng less liability na i-recognize natin. So, yun nga, ganun yung paggawa again ng amortization table. So, itong 13,995, ima-minus lang siya dun sa previous amount ng less liability, which is the 160,047. So, minus 160,047, 146.52. Ito yung amount ng less liability for this January 1, 2023. So, yon, katulad din ng tinuro namin kanina, i-multiply lang ulit sa interest rate and then ma-minus sa annual payment, and then yung amount na difference, yun yung i-minus ulit sa previous amount ng less liability para makakuha yung carrying amount niya o present value niya for January 1, 2024. So, ganun lang siya ulit, guys, hanggang matapos yung term. Yun na yung revised amortization table. So, for the journal entries, again, kailangan nating i-recognize yung scope na nawala sa list liability and right-of-use asset and also the accounts that accompanies it. So, hanapin muna natin ang mga value na yun. Ano yung mga value na kasama sa i-recognize bukod sa binaba na value ng list liability and right-of-use asset. So, first, yung increase in list liability. So, paano makukuha yun? Yung carrying amount ng list liability nung date ng modification, makikita yun sa old amortization table, yung last year, December 31, 2021. So yun, which is 229,866, yung carrying amount na yun, ima-minus sa decrease in carrying amount of list liability na kinuha natin kanina, yung tinimes natin yung carrying amount tas 40%. Yun, which is 91,946. Ima-minus sila yung 229,866 na carrying amount ng list liab. Ima-minus sa ibinaba niya na 91,946. So, 137,920. Ito na yung remaining carrying amount ng old list liability bago yung modification. So, ito, gagamitin siya mamaya. So, yung present value ng payments, yung ngayon sa modification, is yung kanina, yung 160,047. So, yung 160,047, ima-minus yung remaining carrying amount ng list liab. So, yung 160,47 minus the remaining carrying amount of old list liability na 137,920. So, yung 22,127, ito yung increase in list liability. Ito yung tinaas ng list liability. Ang gagawin natin dito, ito yung i-record natin as karagdagan sa right-of-use asset at karagdagan din sa list liability. So, ngayon, ano yung mga account na kasama sa i-recognize? So, of course, sa right-of-use asset muna tayo, yung cost niya na 268,404 times the 40% yung ibinaba ng scope. So, 107,362. So, ito, ima-minus siya doon sa cost ng right-of-use asset. So, 268,404 minus 107,362. So, yung 161,042, ito na yung balance ng right-of-use asset based sa cost. I-add yung increase na 22,127 equals sa 183,169. Ito na yung adjusted balance ng right-of-use asset based sa cost. So, of course, nandun din yung accumulated depreciation dahil 2 years lang naman yung nagdaan bago yung modification. Meron lang tayong accumulated depreciation na 53,680. So, yung depreciation expense niya na 26,840 times 2 lang kasi 2 taon lang naman. Kaya naging 53,680. So, yun, times 40 ulit para makuha natin yung inaba ng accumulated depreciation. So, 21,472. Ito yung binaba ng accumulated depreciation kasi nga dahil sa modification. So, ima-minus natin siya sa 53,680. Magiging 32,208 na lang siya. Ito na yung balance niya. So, ito na rin yung adjusted balance niya kasi hindi naman ina-add dito yung increase. So, moving forward sa carrying amount. So, kanina, nag-base tayo sa cost ng right-of-use asset. Ngayon naman, sa carrying amount. So, ang gagawin is yung carrying amount niya ngayon na kinompute natin kanina na 214,724. So, yung 214,724 na to, times ulit sa 40% para makuha natin kung ilan yung ibabawas niya. So, 85,890. Ito, ima-minus siya ulit dun sa carrying amount. So, ito na yung adjusted balance na ngayon after the modification. So, 150,961. Ngayon, mag-journal entries na tayo. Nalaman na natin lahat ng mga i-recognize bukod sa list liability and ROA or right-of-use asset. Ang journal entry naman niya ay, for 2022, the date of the modification, January 1, list liability, yung binaba. So, yeah, debit list liability, 91,000 946 and accumulated depreciation na 21,472, and then credit right of use asset 107,362. So nag-base tayo dun sa cost, yun yung binaba niya, and the termination gain na una natin compute na 6,056. So yun nga, of course, after that, i-record din natin yung in-increase, yung tinaas. Kasi 'di ba, nung nag-modify tayo, tumaas din yung implicit rate niya. Kaya may tinaas din yung babayaran niyang lease liability. So, i-recognize natin yan at the date of the modification as well. So, debit right of use asset, 22,127, and credit lease liability, 22,127. Of course, at the end of the year, December 31, mag-recognize tayo ng interest expense na na-incur and of course, the payment. So, debit lang ulit interest expense, 16,005, lease liability, 13,995, and then of course, credit cash, 30,000. So, may kita lang to sa amortization table. And then, hindi natin pwedeng kalimutan yung depreciation expense again and again. So, ang depreciation expense is based on the new carrying amount na 150,961. So, nalaman natin to kanina, yung ginawa nating table, na based naman siya sa carrying amount. So, yung 150,961, ito na yung new carrying amount. I-divide lang natin siya sa remaining lease term na 8. So, dahil tapos na tayo sa first 2 years. So, 150,961 divided by 8. So, 961 divided by 8. Dahil wala naman siyang residual value, kaya ganun lang siya. So, ang depreciation expense is 18,870. So, ito na yung gagamitin natin for the remaining 8 years ng lease term. So, para naman sa remaining years ng lease, ganun pa rin yung entries na gagamitin natin. Magre-recognize tayo ng expense, ng depreciation, and then yung the recognition ng paid lease liability. So, yun guys, tapos na tayo sa lease modification, decrease in scope. At dahil dyan, magpunta naman tayo sa lease modification na change of rental. So, IFRS 16 defined this as changing the consideration in the lease by increasing or decreasing the lease payments. So, sa Tagalog, maaaring ang modification na to yung pagtaas ng renta o yung pagbaba. So, para mas maintindihan pa natin, ito yung example.
On January 1, 2020, Rex Orange County Company enters into a lease contract for an equipment with the following information. Annual lease payment payable at the end of each year, 80,000. Lease term for 6 years. Implicit interest rate for 7%.
So again guys, the step 1, compute for the value of lease liability. So yung annual rent ng example natin is 80,000. So 80,000 times the present value factor na 4.7665 na solve na namin kanina. So, ganun pa rin naman ulit yung process. So, that is equal to 381,320. So, ito na yung present value ng lease liability natin for the commencement date. So, ito din yung gagamitin natin para makagawa ng amortization table, and that is the step 2.
Para sa step 2, amortization table, magsimula lang ulit sa ating present value ng lease liability na 381,320 at i-multiply ito sa ating interest rate na 7% para makuha ang interest expense na 26,692. I-minus lang ulit ito sa annual payment na 80,000 para makuha ang ating principal amount na 53,308. I-minus to ulit sa ating previous balance ng lease liability na 381,320 para makuha ang ating current present value na 328,012. So, ulitin lang ulit ang ating process para magawa ang buong amortization table.
Ngayon, ang gagawin na natin is yung step 3 na compute for the cost of right of use asset. So, dahil wala namang mga cost na attributable sa ating underlying asset, yung present value ng lease liability natin, yun na rin yung ating cost of right of use asset. So, ngayon, nasa step 4 na tayo. So, for the journal entries, for the 2020, of course, January 1, ire-record natin yung initial measurement ng ating right-of-use asset or initial recognition ng ating right-of-use asset. So, for that to happen, i-debit lang natin yung right-of-use asset account and then credit the lease liability na 381,320. And for the year-end, so yung interest expense and the payment of the lease liability, so debit lang natin ulit yung interest expense na 26,692 and lease liability na 53,308 and then of course credit cash na 80,000. So nasa amortization table yan, guys. So next, of course, kailangan din natin mag-recognize ng depreciation expense. So para makuha yon, kunin natin yung cost ng right-of-use asset, i-minus the residual value, and then divide sa estimated useful life. Dahil wala namang residual value sa ating example, yung cost ng asset natin na 381,320, i-divide lang natin siya sa list term na 6. So, ang ating depreciation expense is 63,553. So, ito ang i-record natin. So, debit lang depreciation expense and then credit accumulated depreciation. So, for the remaining years, ganun pa rin, guys. Sa year-end na lang tayo magre-record or magre-recognize ng ating interest expense na incur, payment ng lease liability, and then yung ating depreciation. So, ganun lang ulit, guys, hanggang matapos ang ating lease term. But, noong January 1, 2023, may nangyari daw na modification. So, ito yon.
On January 1, 2023, Rex Orange County Company and the lessor agreed to amend the original terms of the lease with the following information. Annual lease payment payable at the end of each year, 70,000, implicit interest rate 9%.
So, yun nga, guys, may amendment na nangyari daw sa lease, which is reducing the lease payment from 80,000 to 70,000. So, dahil dyan, magkakaroon tayo ng remeasurement, and that is the step 5. So, for the step 5 to happen, kailangan natin, of course, makuha yung new annual lease payment using the new present value factor. So, na-compute na namin siya, and using the new implicit interest rate na 9%, ang present value factor niya is 2.5313. So, i-multiply natin siya sa bagong annual lease payment na 70,000 times 2.5313. Ang ating new present value ng lease liability is 177,191. So, ito na ang gagamitin natin para sa revised amortization table. Pero bago ang lahat, kailangan muna nating makuha kung magkano yung binaba ng ating lease liability as of the date of modification. So, ang gagawin natin, ima-minus lang natin tong nakuha nating new present value ng lease liability sa carrying amount ng lease liability as of the modification date. So, yung carrying amount niya is makikita lang sa amortization table na ginawa natin kanina, which is 209,941. So, minus natin siya. Ito na yung binaba ng ating lease liability as of the date of modification, 32,750. So, gaya ng sabi ko kanina, ang remeasurements ay binabangga sa right-of-use asset. So, this decrease in lease liability ay reduction siya sa underlying asset bukod sa lease liability itself. So, gagawa na tayo ngayon ng revised amortization table. So, yung kaninang new present value ng ating lease liability na 177,191, imumultiply natin siya sa new implicit interest rate na 9%. Yun na yung 15,947. So, ito na yung interest rate for the December 31, 2023. So, ima-minus natin siya sa new annual payment na 70,000. So, 50,947 minus 70,000, 54,053. So, ito na yung principal amount. And then, minus ulit sa previous present value ng ating lease liability na 177,191. So, 123,138. Ito na yung ating present value or carrying amount ng lease liability as of January 1, 2024. So, ganun pa rin, guys, sa revised amortization table. Ganun ulit yung process. Multiply ulit sa interest rate and then minus sa annual payment and then minus ulit sa previous carrying amount ng list liab. Tapos hanggang matapos natin yung amortization table, ma-zero na yung carrying amount kasi bayad na or natapos na yung term. So, ngayon, mag-journal entries na tayo. So, for 2023, of course, kailangan nating i-recognize sa January 1 yung decrease ng list liability. So, kailangan natin mag-debit ng list liability na 32,750 and of course, credit ng right-of-use asset. And then, for the year-end, kailangan natin mag-recognize ng interest expense. So, debit interest expense na 15,947 and list liability na 54,053 and of course, credit cash na 70,000. For the depreciation, kailangan nating malaman yung adjusted carrying amount ng right-of-use asset natin kasi nga nagkaroon ng modification. So, para mangyari yan, kailangan natin kunin yung cost ng right-of-use asset which is kanina 381,320. So, ma-minus natin yung accumulated depreciation natin na for 3 years, ang naging accumulated depreciation natin is 190,659. So, minus natin sila. Ang lalabas is 190,661. Ito na yung carrying amount ng right-of-use asset as of January 1, 2023. And ima-minus natin dito yung decrease na 32,750. Ang equals niya is 157,911. Ito na yung ating adjusted carrying amount as of the modification date. So, ito yung gagamitin natin sa ating depreciation. So, itong amount na to, i-divide lang natin sa remaining year na 3 years. Kasi tapos na natin yung first 3 years. Ngayon, sa remaining 3 years na lang tayo. So, divide 3, 52,637. So, ito yung ating depreciation expense for the remaining years. So, debit lang tayo ng depreciation expense and then credit accumulated depreciation. For the journal entries para sa remaining years, guys, ganun pa rin. Magre-record lang tayo sa year-end ng interest expense incurred and the payment of the list liability and of course, the depreciation. Ganun lang ulit, guys, hanggang sa matapos tayo, hanggang ma-recognize natin yung buong list liability, hanggang sa mabayaran natin siya ng buo. So, yun, guys. That's it. So, yun, guys. Yun nga ang buong other accounting issues ng Lessee Accounting.
Thank you so much for watching.
I hope you find this helpful. Maraming salamat sa panonood. I am Christelle.
And I'm Vanessa.
And once again, this is our Intermediate Accounting 3 tutorial, Other Accounting Issues of Lessee Accounting.
So guys, bye!
Bye.
God bless!